I'd like to call to order the Clarkston Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for January 9th, 2017 at 6:05. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Dan Gaffney.
Here.
Michelle Ginn.
Here.
Mary Green.
Here.
Mary Himberg. Here. Allison McFadden-Keeson.
Here.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
And Rose Lexman. Julie Meredith here.
I'll accept a motion for approval of the agenda. So moved.
Second. I'm starting with second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The motion is approved. Call to the public.
So the quilt committee will have their first meeting tomorrow night at 7 o'clock. Janet Coffin is going to be sitting in for Miriam Barron. I don't, if you've not heard, her mom has passed away, and so she's not able to make Tuesday's meeting. But Michelle, I know you're going to be there. Okay, so we're looking forward to hearing what comes of that. There were the Friends Board approved two funding requests that were made by the library staff. One was to update the signage for the Friends group. When you go out around the corner and you notice the wooden case, it's all updated and looks really nice, as well as a new sign over by the books that are for sale. So, so that was done, and also we approved an expenditure of up to $2,000 for new book bags that are used for circulation of books. And this is it. It just came in before the meeting started. It's really quite nice. You see the logos for both the library and the Friends. It's really pretty strong, and I'm going to pass this around to you guys. It's reinforced at every place. No zipper, because I heard interesting stories about all kinds of things that are left in the bag. This makes it easier to dump it out. There's also a pocket in front. So I forget how many we ordered.
I believe
125, I think? Yes.
And I believe we're getting a few extras because when the estimate was done, they hadn't taken into consideration that we were tax exempt, so they ended up getting to print a few more than they hoped. So
Perfect.
Excellent.
And that's it.
And that's the news from the
That's
Friends.
news. Yes.
All right, thank you very much. I'll end the call to the public at this time. We have a consent agenda. Is there a motion for acceptance of that?
I move that we to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the consent agenda as presented. Does anyone wish to remove any particular item? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Library statistics, the only colorful part of our agenda.
So you have your statistics in your packets. We are to the end of the year. So for our year-to-date averages, visitors were up 4%, total circulation was up 19%, downloads were up 10%, wireless users were up 19%. All of the programming was up considerably. The total participants of children's and teen programs up 35%, and adult programs was up 41% for the year. So very, very good.
That is wonderful.
Yeah,
That
it's
really
amazing.
shows
It's been a big year.
what a dynamic staff we have.
Yes.
Good, hard-working crew we have.
Yes. Excellent. All right, the library director's report.
So the first item was to show off the book bags, so I'm going to show them off again. We're very excited about our book bags. Next item, as I reported last month, I met with Bob Cesario, a retired trainer from Independence Township Fire Department, who is now using his skills to consult and train organizations regarding safety and emergency procedures. We discussed a plan to have him assist a safety committee made up of library employees with a project to overhaul our emergency procedures and develop a plan to train staff in these important skills. I am meeting with him again on January 10th to finalize the details, timeline, and schedule the first meeting with our staff committee. Interested staff members have already signed up to participate, so this project is well underway. Next item, last month our library board approved the posting of our business and marketing librarian position. Our posting closed yesterday. There are 8 candidates. Our selection committee is made up of Marilyn Pomeroy, Lawrence Marble, Julie Meredith, and Christina Bowers. They're reviewing the applicants and will be setting up interviews soon. The library selection committee will conduct initial interviews to narrow the field. Representatives from the chamber and the business community will be included in second interviews, and a recommendation to the library board to appoint a candidate is anticipated in February.
Excellent.
Book groups became quite a trend several years ago, and their popularity continues to grow. The Adult Services Department developed a collection of book groups, collection for book groups, in which we purchased sets of books of titles that are popular for discussions. To streamline the system, the librarians and catalogers teamed up to create book group kits, which are sets of 10 books in a bag with a laminated card of discussion questions that can be easily picked up and checked out as a unit for 6 to 8 weeks. There are 80 engaging titles in this collection, and our local book groups, for our local book groups to enjoy. So that's a project that we just finished up as the year concluded. And we have lovely new bags that are different than these, and I should have brought them in to show them off, but I did not. But it's a nice unit that people can pick up. Next item, during the 2017 budget planning process, the library board identified a number of projects to address this year. These included phase 3 of the parking lot, phase 3 of 3. Yay! Space planning of the adult computer lab, address storage and space issues in the back, replacement of the main entry doors and delivery doors, and replacement of the phone system. The first project on this list has steps being taken at tonight's meeting. In regards to the computer lab and storage issues, some assessment and input has been gathered, and an initial meeting with a space planner took place on Thursday of last week. The IT manager and I will work with staff, friends of the library, and the public to finalize the needs assessment for these 2 projects. We have another meeting with the space planner scheduled for early February. I plan to begin gathering information regarding the replacement of the doors in the coming weeks. Over the past 2 years, our IT manager has been doing research regarding phone systems to replace our current system that was installed when the building was built in 1992. We hope to move forward on these 2 projects mid-year as phase 3 of the parking lot project comes to an end. So we're trying to space out the projects a little bit. Next item, late last year, the library board's staffing committee expressed interest in developing an evaluation system for all of the library's employees. The libraries department heads and I discussed this at our January meeting and are now in the process of gathering examples of the evaluation systems being used by libraries throughout the region. We will be discussing our findings at our February meeting, so that's underway as well. And then last item in collaborations. Last year, the library board approved a project to update the Community Information Network website. This is a robust website of local history information created by Susan and Bill Basinger. In order to protect their hard work, the content needs to be migrated to a modern platform because the website is becoming outdated, preventing it from being compatible with modern mobile devices. Unfortunately, this project was not completed in 2016, but the committee is scheduling a meeting later this month and will continue to move this project forward in 2017.
It's a busy month.
It's been, yeah, well, that's how January usually is. We get projects, some projects finish up and lots of new projects begin.
Any questions or comments? All right, let's move into regular business. The first item of business is to elect the officers for 2017. And we have 4 positions that need to be filled. I'll accept the motion.
I move that we appoint Marilyn Pomeroy as president of the library board.
Second. All right. Any other? Should we, well, let's do all of our nominations at one time.
Okay.
Yeah. Redo your.
Okay, do them all?
Do them all.
Do them all, okay. I can get confused. Okay, I move that we appoint Marilyn Pomeroy as president and that we appoint Mary Himberg as vice president
You're
Secretary.
Vice President?
Mickey.
Mickey is Vice President and Mary as Secretary. I knew I was going to get confused. And I guess as Jan Gaffney as Treasurer.
As good vice president, yes, as treasurer.
And I second that motion.
Let's go over this one more time. All right, it's been moved and seconded that we appoint the existing officers to the same positions for next year.
Yes. That would have been
Any
easier. I said-
Other nominations? Any other comments? Everyone is willing, so all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, the board has selected their appointments for this year. Thank everybody for serving.
And thank you.
Our staff at the library makes our job
Yes, they do.
considerably easier, so we appreciate that.
Marilyn, I'd like to make one comment. That I've been on a number of boards, but I've never been on a board that's operated so smoothly as this one. And I think the four officers helped make that smooth transition. So this is a great board. This is by far the best one I've ever served in.
Me too, and I've also
And
been on
Julie
a number
makes
of
the
boards.
officers' jobs
Right.
Much
a lot
easier.
easier.
I make other library directors jealous myself.
And my comment is, if you've been to board meetings of other boards, you know that every board meeting, we have a packet, and everyone on this board comes prepared to discuss the items. They've read the packets, they've asked questions, and that makes the meetings go much more smoothly because everyone has prepared. So I want to thank everyone, and especially our team who prepares and gets information that we need. So thank everybody.
Thank you.
And we're looking forward to 2017. Okay. Item number 2, discussion of point of sale project. We're very excited to hear about this.
At the December meeting, the committee working on the project to upgrade the library's point-of-sale system and allow credit card and debit cards as a method of payment provided the board with a timeline for executing this project. The committee will provide an update and proposal for phase 1 of this project. And we have Bill Bowman, who is our IT manager, head of circulation IT manager, to do that this evening.
So we have been talking about this for quite a while.
Yes.
I do understand that. But yes, we've had a committee running for about the last 6 months, working specifically on figuring out which point of sale software and solutions we want to do. So the committee consisted of the director, myself, and members of both the circulation and IT teams. We went to multiple libraries to take a look at the different systems and see what was being used. What are we trying to do? We're trying to get, like she said, bringing in credit cards, alternate methods of payment, keeping better track of our money that comes in for items and things like that. And why are we doing this? Other than that you have asked us to do it, the patrons are also asking for a much more flexible method of payment. So how do we go about it? Well, first we created our list of requirements. We needed to be able to take credit cards. We needed to be able to sell items from the circulation desk, things like that. Also, we needed to integrate with our integrated library system and things, and those sorts of things right there. Like I said before, we visited other libraries. We've also polled other libraries via email. And then after all that, we picked a couple of vendors, and they came in and showed us their products directly, either via web-based or actually in the building. So going over these, we've been looking at 3 different vendors: Square, which is what some of the libraries have used, and another piece of software that actually has 2 different names, but through 2 different vendors, and Visionware, which is one of the vendors we have in the building now, and Total Business Solutions, which was another vendor that sells library point-of-sale software. Going through all of these things, especially with the recommendations and the requirements we had, unfortunately, we did have to cut Square out of the picture almost immediately because they did not integrate with our system. They did not have several other features that we were looking for. If we were just looking to take credit cards, that's one thing. They did not have a method of online payment that we could then integrate into the system, which is phase 2 or 3, but still we had to think down the road where we were going to go after we had the system in place. Going with the demonstrations, with the reputation of the companies, the features that the companies provided, and the value based on our quotes, we are recommending that we go with Envisionware, who sells the Envisionware point of sale system as our vendor of choice. You all have a breakdown of the prices, I think, you have that in there? Okay. The breakdown takes into account the initial cost, the day one costs, and it actually breaks it down for up to a 6-year period, which is the way that I was looking at it forward. So, and it comes out that actually over that 6-year period, the Envisionware product comes out cheaper in the long run in particular. It may not be the least expensive on day one, but there's actually also some room in those things where I'm going to try to convince the company to allow us to install it, which will save us a chunk of money on there too. There's the credit card terminals, which are a fixed cost. No matter how you look at it, they're going to be $1,008 a year for those two things. But Envisionware is a company we've been doing business with now for many years, and they know us, we know them, they know our capabilities, and they seem comfortable so far in letting us do the installation, like I said, which will save us a chunk of cash in the
How about
installation.
training?
They do training as well. I mean, they do webinar-based training, which is what the same way we learned about what the product does. I mean, we just have a webinar and we can walk through all of that. But their manuals are actually quite good as well. So, I mean, that is the recommendation of the committee. Do you have any questions? Yeah.
What, if we install it here, is that going to affect the service agreement or warranty or anything?
No, not at all. No, you pay maintenance the same whether you install it or they install it. But the Envisionware works with libraries of all sizes, from little tiny libraries up to gigantic library systems. So they have these specifics that they integrate into the quotes that they send somebody out for at least a day or two to make sure that everything gets installed. But, like I said, they have people that are on staff. Like before I came in, we had no IT staff technically, so if we'd done the Envisionware software then, they would have definitely sent somebody out to take care of that.
Okay. We want to thank the committee for all of the investigation that you did, because seeing how it works in other libraries is a big help in determining how successful it's going to be here. And patrons have been asking for it for quite some time.
Yeah.
So.
And like I said, we actually went over, in particular, the Lake Orion, who uses the same, they use Polaris, the Polaris integrated library system, and they have selected Envisionware as well. And I've looked at other libraries and talked to several other ones doing the same thing. In particular, the integration between Polaris and the Envisionware software is a big selling point on them as well. They work directly hand in hand with Polaris. We're innovative now, but to make sure their product literally does exactly what it says. You pay something in Envisionware, it's paid in Polaris immediately.
Okay. So there won't be any glitches there.
That's
Okay,
the idea.
That's excellent. That's the plan. All right, are there any other questions? Committee's put a lot of time in this. We've read it. Most of us, if we had questions, have asked several of them. I am willing to entertain a motion. He's got a nice motion right there.
Well, that's the budget adjustment portion that's going to need for the pay for it. But
If we should have a motion to approve.
Yeah, I think what you'll want to do is a motion to approve, taking the recommendation, and then you would make a motion to approve Envisionware. And then he's got, we'll need budget adjustments. They would just come from undesignated revenue, because we have money in the budget that was not designated within the budget. But he would need, it's like
$3,120 to the equipment line item 980.
Yeah.
$1,008 to line 933, which is equipment maintenance, and $2,225 to 818 professional and contract services.
And all of those would come from undesignated revenue, which is.
Okay, so he's broken up the budget into the various lines that it needs to be coming from.
Yep.
So I will accept first a motion on if we're willing to accept their recommendation. I'll accept that motion first.
I move that we accept the committee's That's not resignation.
Recommendation.
Recommendation,
We
don't
don't want
resign,
you to
please don't resign. Recommendation and get the Envisionware software for point of sale.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the committee's recommendation to go with Envisionware. Any other questions? This is a very good, very thorough presentation. Thank you. It's good. If there are no other questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Now, I'll accept a second motion on moving some funds around so we can pay for this project.
From undesignated. I move that we move funds from undesignated revenue to the line items as outlined by the committee's presentation.
As presented.
Ooh.
We're getting good at this.
You're good at this.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we follow the budget adjustments that have been presented by the committee from undesignated revenue. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Okay. Julie, would you please take care of those
Absolutely.
budget
Take care of those.
adjustments? And thank the committee
I will do
for
so.
us. We're looking forward to this.
So are we.
Is there a timeline?
Well, the biggest stretch of time is going to be the credit card terminals themselves. They have a 10-week lead time on them, unfortunately. No matter how we do it, that's how long it takes us to get those. The rest of the equipment should be in much faster than that.
So there is one more piece to this project, and that is merchant services, which is the second little piece in your packet. And basically that means that we need to determine which bank we want to handle the merchant piece of it. So I've given you two. We have two banks that we currently use. We use Flagstar and we use Clarkson State Bank. And there's a little spreadsheet at the very end that shows the difference between the two, Clarkson State Bank and Flagstar. Basically what it boils down to is one is going to be charging a little more in terms of annual fees, and the other one is going to be charging a little more in terms of, transaction fees, the credit rate. And so I sat down on Saturday and really played with the numbers to try and figure it out. And the unfortunate part is because we've never taken credit cards before, we don't know exactly
How many
what
transactions
kinds
we're
of
going to
transactions we're going to
have?
have. But what it boiled down to, what I kept coming out with is the numbers are pretty much the same either way. So then it becomes which bank would you like the money to go into? We are currently doing most of our transactions with Flagstar. That's where our checking account is, and the money that comes and goes comes out of Flagstar. So for convenience sake, we could have it go into that account. That's where the money comes and goes anyway. The other bank that we use, which is currently housing our fund balance, is Clarkson State Bank. There's very little movement in that, so we could potentially have it go into the Clarkson State Bank account, which would prevent some dormancy issues of that. There'd be some action going on that account. I suspect for the sake of ease for the accountant, she would probably prefer that it go into Flagstar. But I don't know. It's really 6 to 1, half dozen of the other in this particular situation.
That's what I thought, because the two were so close in the estimate. That's what I wondered what was most comfortable for the staff and the accountant.
I think that the accountant would probably prefer Flagstar, just
Flagstar.
because that's, yeah, but she tracks both. Obviously she reconciles all bank accounts every month, so it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, but it would be less bouncing money back and forth, so.
That is true. Fewer transactions.
Well, because you're not really wanting to put this money into the fund balance. Really, you want it in your operating
Right.
budget, so.
There's one more item in our.
Right,
regular
I mean,
operating budget.
it's, if you wanted it to go into fund balance, and obviously, then sending it to
It just gets
Clarkson.
moved around anyway, because if we end up with too much going to that account, I'm just gonna have to transfer it to the other bank account. So.
Right. And there's no way of knowing, because we don't have any idea how this is all going to work, but,
Yep.
It's
It's not from lack of trying to come up with the best possible solution. I really tried. I spent a lot of time on Saturday fussing with it and really discovered that there wasn't an obvious choice.
All right, I'll accept the motion.
I move to, that that we approve Flagstar Merchant Services proposal for point of sale income
Second.
transactions.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept Flagstar's recommendation for point of sale, merchant services overview for our point of sale issues. Any other comments or questions? Okay, we'll try this. If we could change this at some other time.
Yeah, that's the nice thing is that I asked both of these. These are on a monthly basis, so if we become unhappy or decide we want to change anything, all we have to do is switch it, and it's not that big of a deal. So, yeah.
Especially since we don't
Neither-
really
neither-
know what this is going to look like
We
at
have-
first.
We already have, we do business with both, so there isn't, it's not like this is a contract. If we were not using either of these banks, there might be a contract, there might be annual fees and things like that involved and other issues, but we do business with both of these banks. So.
All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Put your light back on.
Thank you very much.
Now, our next item is a review of the board orientation material. And even though our newest board member is not here, it would probably be a good idea for the board to review this anyway.
Light overview.
That would be good.
I was happy to see it again.
Yeah.
Me too. It is, it's okay.
Yeah, I reread it all and thought,
Yeah,
yeah, I forgot that.
I did some overview with Ann over the weekend as well, and she's not here this evening. I did have an orientation with her on Saturday while she was in, so. So just a few things that she's answering is our library law specialist attorney. And she created this booklet for our board members when we established the library. I think she did a really nice job. It's a nice little nutshell version. It answers all of the frequently asked questions. In terms of orientation, the highlights that I would point out, in terms of responsibility, the library board is the governing body of the library. You are the policy makers. We do really appreciate that our board is very engaged in the activities of the library as well. That makes your policy making easier because you know the staff, you know the services, you know what's going on. You're actually a library user, so that's really helpful for us as well. Just a reminder that the library board's official spokesperson is the president. In the absence of the president, we call upon the vice president. The same problem happens when we have snow issues. So I call the president first, and if the president is unavailable, then I call Nikki at the crack of dawn.
Which is fine.
To discuss the snow falling from the sky.
In different parts of the...
In different parts of Oakland County. Sorry, I should make light of this, but that is, in reality, that is the day-to-day operation sometimes. Okay. In terms of the Open Meetings Act, the library board is subject to the Open Meetings Act. Any gathering of 4 or more board members is a quorum and should be posted in advance and open to the public. Committees and subcommittees with fewer than 4 board members in attendance and have no decision-making authority are not subject to the Open Meetings Act. The library board should not send email to the entire group because group discussions via email could be construed as a meeting. So basically the way we solve that is if I need to let you know about something, like when I send your board packets out and that, if I send an email to the board, I send a blind copy. And I always do that, which means if you hit reply, even if you hit reply all, it still only comes back to me. So there's no danger of it becoming an inappropriate meeting or an inappropriate discussion. The administrative assistant and I always ensure that the meetings and the minutes are posted according to the guidelines and that they are up on our Documents on Demand website in a timely fashion because there are timelines that we have to follow and dates that we have to post and things like that. So we take responsibility for doing that. One question that often comes up in terms of the Open Meetings Act, and it's always a little bit of a sticky wicket, a little bit of a difficult situation, is what is not considered a meeting. The Open Meetings Act does not apply to a conference or informational gathering provided the meeting does not involve deliberation or is not designated or designed to circumvent the Open Meetings Act, obviously. It also does not really apply to social gatherings, but when there are social gatherings, you guys have done a really great job of either making sure that not everybody shows up at the same time or that you don't
get
group
together.
up and chit chat. So this particular board's been really, really careful and cognizant of that. But it is, y'all are in the same town, so it's not uncommon for you to all show up at the same place at the same time from time to time. But you've done a great job of not allowing that to be a problem. In addition, a public body may convene to listen to the concerns of a neighboring group or board of directors without complying with the Open Meetings Act, provided that the body does not deliberate or render any decisions. Even when you have gathered for discussions with the township board, we've actually posted that as a meeting. You have opened and closed it as a public meeting. Same thing when we did the Harwood Community Conversation. We posted that as a public meeting. Nobody attended from the public, but we did post that as a public meeting. So we've been very careful to follow the Open Meetings Act. So I appreciate everybody being so conscientious of that. Another one that often gets asked about is closed session. Primarily closed session would be in a situation to consider the dismissal, suspension, discipline, complaints, charges, or periodic personnel evaluations of a public officer or employee. We've been very blessed with not ever having had to have closed session, and we've, I don't anticipate that coming up at any time, but it could. So there is a section on closed session if you have questions or concerns about that. One thing that does come up from time to time that is a concern is the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA. Occasionally we get requests for FOIA type information. Every organization has to have a FOIA coordinator, and I am a FOIA coordinator, so the board does not have to worry about that. It is the responsibility of Debbie and I to respond to those within the regulations of the FOIA codes. So no worries for the board on that in that regard. The last one that's an important one to keep in mind is the Michigan Library Privacy Act. Library records regarding contact information, lists of materials that are checked out, etc., are confidential and require a court order for release. Sometimes the public doesn't understand why we're so strict. They want to call on the phone and be able to give their name and have us open their library records. It is this law that prevents us from doing that. We have to be able to know that you are who you say you are, even over the phone, which is why we require library card numbers over the phone. I know that makes some people unhappy, but it's the law. So we are following the law.
Well, and it really protects everyone's privacy. I was a public school librarian, and there were times when someone would say, I'd like to know what John has been reading. You know, remember where they used to have cards that you checked out? And there would be requests. That's private information. So the reader and the information have a contract between them, and no one else is, that information is not to be imparted to other people without a court order. And it's when everyone checks in materials, that record is erased. So there's no record of all of the materials that anyone has read previously.
So in this particular situation, when we do occasionally have patrons who complain about it, we do remind them that this is another form of identity theft protection as well. Because once they have access, once a person has access to your library record, they have access to your phone number, your address, all of this other contact information as well. It tends to come into play more in terms of, unfortunately, we sometimes get caught in the middle in family situations, divorce situations, custody battles, that sort of thing. And so that's when this becomes a little bit stickier, and that's why we have to be so careful to make sure that we're following these rules and following these codes. We have had the example when I was a reference librarian many years ago. I had a woman who called and wanted to check out the Michigan divorce law book. It was not available at the time, and I said, well, I can put a hold on it. Oh, no, my husband doesn't know about this. I don't want you to leave a message on my answering machine saying, come pick up this book. And I could assure her, we don't do that. We would just call and say the book that you have on hold is available. We wouldn't say what the title is. So we never know what the situation is on the other end of the phone. So, so that's what that law is all about. And so I know sometimes people are unhappy when it's not as easy to get access to their information without their card as they would like for it to be. But we are trying to protect a situation, and we don't know what that situation may be. So,
Thank you.
Any questions about anything that has been provided by the attorney?
She did do a nice job of
Yes.
just hitting the important points.
She's very good. She's
And
been
kind
doing
of
this a
giving
long
us an
time.
idea, if we did want more information, where we might go to look for more information. I think she did a great job.
And it's good to review that from time to time anyway.
Yes, yeah.
We'd rather be proactive.
To be sure.
All right, thank you. Next, we have a review of the state aid report.
Public libraries in Michigan are formally established under state law and must file a report with the Library of Michigan each year in order to maintain their certification. The certification verifies a library's eligibility for state aid funds, penal fine money, and government grants. The filing season begins in October and has an electronic filing deadline. It says February 1st of 2016, sorry, February 1st of 2017. I fell prey to the year just turned over and I missed one. Yeah. Ugh. Within your packet, you will find the state aid report that was submitted for this year. Because the library has a different fiscal year than the state's, ours is January to December versus the state's, which is October to September. The report was just submitted, covers January 1st to December 31st of 2015. That's the other reason that I was having some issues with when things are due. There's 3 different years at play here. There's 2015 data that we collect and report in 2016, 2017. So the entire report is here for you to take a look at. They're very consistent in terms of from one year to the next what they're collecting. The staff has become really quite efficient. At the end of the year, so in January of just a few weeks ago, I compiled all of this data and I submitted to the state, and then I also compiled a list of emails to send to the staff. This is what I need, the 2016 information that I will be submitting in October of 2016 to February October of 2017 to February 2018. So they're getting me that data now. I put it in the file, and then when it's time I just open it up. It takes me a couple hours to put this all together and to send it in. So this particular report is interesting because in 2015, it was the year after our village passed. So you can see there was a lot of growth in our programming in 2015. There was a lot of growth in our reference transactions. There was growth in collection, in library cards, just some really interesting, more computer terminals for the public, that sort of thing. So I don't know if there were any questions in particular about anything that you saw in your state aid report.
I was going to ask where the differences were from last year, and now I know, so that was good.
Okay.
You anticipated my question.
I tried.
Good job. Excellent.
Okay.
It's always hard when you're reading it on someone else's schedule. So you're reading 9 months or, 3 months of that year and 9 months of this year to fit with the state requirement.
And it's really difficult because at the beginning of the meeting I was telling you, yay, this is what we did in 2016, and now it's the middle of the meeting I'm telling you, yay, this is what we did in 2015. It was a little bit behind, but it has to do with the fiscal years. But both years were positive growth, so we're excited about gathering the 2016 data and reporting it at the end of this coming year for the next year.
Right.
You can already see that when we have this report to you next year, that you'll be seeing more data.
All right. Any comments or questions? Thank you.
It is very detailed.
Yes. Small print.
Well, very detailed, which
I
is,
actually called and asked about how to print it bigger, and he said they are working on trying to get it to print bigger, and they are still having trouble with that. It was small like this last year.
yes, I remember
And
that.
yeah, they're consistent. Yeah. So their vendor is working on that, so I apologize, he used a bit of a microscope. But I called and he said, I can tell you how to print it as big as possible. I said, that would be fabulous.
Yes.
So this is as big as it gets.
And we all have magnifying glasses, right? Just in case. All right, thank you. All right, let's go to item number 5, the review of phase 3 of the parking lot.
And there was much rejoicing.
Yeah.
The library director and the civil engineer from Howell, Roth, and Clark have been discussing phase 3 of the parking lot project, and I will provide an overview of the plan and the timeline for the final portion of this project. I'm so excited to be telling you about the last thing. Okay, so,
Well, this is not as exciting as the first phase and the potholes.
I don't think this one's gonna be as big of a headache.
You have to either just more just parking lot.
Over here? Or is it up here?
The little zipper pouch.
Oh, so it is. I don't know if I'm gonna actually need it or not, but. Is it plugged in?
You don't need to for that. It's just a button.
No.
Switched on.
Ah, there we go. Okay, thank you. Okay, so, in phase one, we did the driveway, which would be this portion that you can't really see. He's only sent us the part we're doing this year. So the driveway would be along here, it would go all the way out to Clarkson Road. That was phase one. Phase two was all of the asphalt around the island and all the concrete across the front of the building. And if the building were on the ceiling, I suppose. Okay, so phase three, the final piece, is the flat part of the parking lot, all of the parking spaces, except for the little piece that's on the edge of the driveway right here. And basically what they're going to do, this really isn't gonna take very long, this is the simplest of the three. They're gonna grind all this out, just like we've done for the other two phases. They're going to use that as the substrate to put underneath, and then they're going to basically put new asphalt over top of the whole thing. They will, he has identified some curbs to be done around these little islands to kind of clean those up. He is not adding anything new in terms of other curbing. We are going to add, at the request of our snowplow contractor, the concrete columns on either side of the fire hydrants to make sure that when he's plowing, he doesn't have to worry. There's a big flag on the top of it, but when the snow gets really deep, he really would appreciate. He said when he was plowing, when we had all that snow back in December, he was plowing, and there used to be rocks around the edge of the driveway over by the delivery area, and they had moved those to the other side of the driveway, and he said he was plowing along, and he said he hit a rock, and the whole truck rattled, and he thought, oh my gosh, I hit the fire hydrant. He just about
Take up the rest of my
just about had a heart attack, and then he realized, oh wait, it's that rock. So in the spring, he's gonna move the rocks, so they doesn't have to worry about those again, but he's very excited that we have agreed to put in those columns. And that was, the civil engineer said, yeah, that probably is a really good idea. So we'll put in two. A little bit forward, and on either side to prevent that from being an issue. And narrow enough so he can't get his snowplow in there.
Plenty of access for the
So
firefighters.
plenty of access for the firefighters. I did call the fire marshal and ask for any ordinance or requirements or whatever, and we got those all figured out, and they're content with what the engineer has recommended, and so we'll make sure those are all in the plan. Now, the only thing that the engineer was really asking for tonight was any information that we would like to give him in terms of timing. I would like to recommend that we do the timing like we did last year, where the bulk of the work happens in May,
Right.
that we would try to have it done before the middle of June, which is right about the time summer reading starts, and that's when, as soon as school gets out, then we're rocking and rolling. June, July, and August are our three busiest months of the year, and we really need our parking lot. So that would be my suggestion.
I take it April is too soon.
April we're still, May is actually the slowest of those months, because that's the point at which, for us.
For us, okay.
Yeah, we're really, really busy up through April, and then May it drops off because everybody's doing graduation and prom and all of those exciting events, and the school year is starting to wrap up, and the projects are starting to wrap up. We're not as busy in May, especially near the end of May. So if we can get them to do like the middle to end of May and be done by the middle of June, that tends to be a quieter time, not quiet, but quieter for us, and the traffic is less.
And what will we do about parking on whatever days it is that?
Well, this is the interesting part. Basically, what the engineer is going to have the contractors do is propose a plan, and that will be part of what you'll be reviewing when he brings in the bids.
If they can keep part of it open for parking at a
If,
time.
yep, that he is basically telling them minimal or no closure. And they need to come up with some sort of a method and plan for doing that. But he's leaving it to them to figure out the best way to do it. So I suspect, as you said, what they will probably do is close off parts of it and do it in sections and then meld it together. But they would have to say where they would seam it
Yeah,
and
and
that sort of thing.
because you want to seam it in such a way so that it's not seen at high traffic points where the seams will,
Right.
because that does weaken
Yep.
the asphalt wherever there's a seam. But
And then the last piece that is that he will be, after your meeting tonight, I will call him, let him know what you said, and he will be bidding it out basically next week. Yep, and he will come back, we're hoping in February with the bids, so that you can approve them right away and select your contractor. And then get on the schedule to make sure that we can have the timeline that we prefer. Any questions or concerns about this?
I'm just excited to have the whole park.
We want to get this show on the road.
Me too, me too.
It will be good. It will be good. It was one of the first promises we made to the public, and it's going to be good.
It's been a long time coming, this is whole, I know more about asphalt and concrete than I ever thought I had.
Including how the price went up.
Yes, the prices do continue to go up. We do have it budgeted. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that our estimate was good. If not, we may have to dip into fund balance a little bit, but I'm hoping. So last year we came in under budget. In terms of lighting, we had talked about the possibility of doing, last year we did all the lighting across the front of the building. We seem to have solved a lot of those problems that we were concerned about across the driveway, down the steps, that sort of thing. We had talked last year about the possibility of maybe doing the parking lot lighting. I'm actually at this point going to recommend that we don't do that.
No, I drove around in it the other night dropping off paper, and it seemed quite bright.
Yep. And my thinking now is that we have other more pressing things like the doors, like phones, and the computer lab and space planning and things like that. So I think I would push that down the list
Putting in the
further.
new bulbs helped.
Yes, yep. So I don't think we're dealing, I think we've tackled and conquered the darkness issue. And so it's
It
a
also looks really nice
Yes.
when you
It
approach.
does. Aesthetically, it's very.
Yep. So, any other questions or concerns?
We need a motion.
Nope. Unless you have questions or anything specific that you would like me to take back to him.
Nope.
Nope? Okay, then we're good.
Gotta put it out there. And that concludes our business for tonight. So I will accept a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn, and the lighting is not right for me, at
Looks like
6:52, 53? 6:53. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, everyone. We are adjourned at 6:53.